Let's be real as fuck about life, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Hi, I'm Julie Chin. You can call me Jules. The Real as Fuck brand is all about providing tools and resources to help new and struggling agents succeed. I share my personal experience not only as a new real estate agent, but also how I overcame the odds starting out as a single mom with a mountain of debt and a ton of self-doubt. Welcome to the Real as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Julie Chin, and today I have a powerhouse couple in our studio. Let's meet Will and Veronica. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so you guys jump in, tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Well, where do we start? Hold on one second. Maybe I'll let you to start the story of how we met in real estate.
How we met in real estate was we met in at an open house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love that.
How often that happened that you your future husband and wife at an open house? Doesn't really happen.
I'm envisioning a new dating app going forward.
Yeah, an extra category. Are you single, married? Looking something like that. Are you working with an agent and are you single or married? So it was we both listed properties on the same street. So that's I mean, in an open house, we were both listing properties and competing against each other because the properties look exactly the same in the outside. But there was more, mine was more updated. The bedrooms were kind of quirky the way they were distributed.
So your house was better, got it.
Better price, better looking. All the buyers came to my house. Nobody went to his, and he pretty much stormed. Like he marched all the way to my house, all mad. Like, oh my god, who took all my clients on one of my first listings? I think this was one of your first listings, right, baby?
Yeah. So I was working a lot of buyers, and at that time it was my first cold call listing. Like I signed a listing from cold calling, and I was all excited. And I put it on the market, and the very next day, her listing hits. I don't look into that listing too much. I just realized that we were going to have a problem when it came time for offers on ours. I knew that for sure. And I did do something great that kind of led to me meeting Veronica in the first place, which is my coaches taught me to door knock the area once I have a listing in that area. So I did that 1 hour before my open house started. And I found a seller in that neighborhood that said, yeah, I'm interested in selling. If you have a buyer, bring them by. And I said, okay, well, nobody hit my open house, so I need to see if she has a buyer that we could kind of link up. And then, well, I didn't know if it was her or him. I didn't know who was at the open house at that point. But I just said, I need to see if that person has a buyer for this off-market house that they're willing to sell. So I go there with the intention of checking out the house, yes, but also doing a deal. And then I open the door and I see her, and everything else just went, sideways.
What seller? What seller?
What seller? What buyer? Doesn't matter. Real estate, sure.
Nobody.
Love that.
The rest was history. That's how we met in real estate. She's been doing real estate for a year longer than I have, and yeah, that's how we got to get together. And
did you get the other listing?
No. I came close.
You got the girl though.
So the seller mentioned if you I got the girl. That's let's just leave it at that. Believe it, I got the girl. So that's how we met in real estate, and we stayed working at separate companies, maybe for a year or two after that. But then we started dating, and everything made sense to align our businesses, and here we are. Got married, and we have a beautiful family.
Love that.
And we love to travel. Yep.
Wow,
that's true.
And I'm gonna ask this, but I already know the answer. You guys enjoy working together?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I don't imagine it like different. Like I can't think of like doing real estate with somebody else, or like even going back to doing it myself, because I feel like Will and I both have different strengths and and different weaknesses too, but we complement each other in a lot of the ways that we run our business. And it's very like like he has his clients, I have my clients, and then we have clients in common sometimes. But it's great because I tend to focus more on like Spanish speaking clients, and he's more on like Will does really good with like elderly, like people downsizing, like older people, like older sellers. So, and I do really well with like the Spanish community, so it complements really well with our business. So yeah, so we enjoy it very much. Obviously, once in a while we kind of like want to kind of run the same boat, like do the same things, and we kind of like have a little bit of fraction there, but then it works out. It always works out. So I enjoy it very much. And we see each other since the moment we open our eyes until the moment we close our eyes every single day. It's like we're attached to the hip.
We're not together right now, though.
I
See?
know. I feel weird. I feel like something is missing.
Yeah, no. So it is there. There's a lot of benefits of having a partner in real estate that you're both wired the same. But there also could be challenges, like she said, and we had to get kind of coached through. There's got to be different pieces of the business that you have to separate, and you have to say, you know what, she's really good at that. Like we're buying a property right now, and they were asking me about tiles. I'm like, I have no clue. That's not my strength. I can't even tell you towels. Forget about tiles. So there's certain things that we have to kind of divide up and say, okay, this is what I'm really good at, and this is what I'm not great at,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. I
let
think
the
it's
other
a good
person
relationship
make
exercise.
those
You need
decisions
to
and be
check
fine
your
with it.
ego at the door. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough because we're both drivers, and we're both when we met, and we both had the same mindset. So it was just learning how to kind of merge that. But yeah, no, we love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
What's a strength you each really admire in the other?
So Veronica, she's still growth minded. She so for me, I love to learn, and so does she. Right? Certain thing, we've been together for a bit now, and I always say like it feels like longer because we like she said, we wake up with each other and we work together and everything else. So I feel like it's double. Most couples, they separate, they go to work, and then they see each other for maybe a few hours. But
Right.
she's still committed to the growth, like individually, right? She reads her audible books. She reads also actual books, and she's always like learning. And then she teaches me certain things, and I'm like, yeah. Like for instance, yesterday I just said, I was listening to this audible book, and she was talking to my daughter. I had said something to my daughter, but I didn't explain why I said it. Veronica just jumped in there and explained to her like why I said it, right? So I'm still learning through her growth, right? So I love the fact that she's still tapped into that, because I don't think that's ever going to end. And Veronica says, "Yeah, that's it. Good. I'm good. Yeah."
And I think one of the things I love about Will is like he's like I guess in the personal side, one thing I love about, he's very compassionate and very like a fantastic father. Like that's one of the things when I decided to have kids, and I say, okay, this is the guy, because I was older now. I was 37 years old when I decided to have kids, and I was like, I have to be really with somebody who is, his kids are priority. So on the personal side, on the business side, I feel like I agree. It kind of goes to similar to what Will is saying. Like we both like push each other. When one is down, the other one kind of push the other one up. But also like I learn every day. Like Will is constantly like just bettering himself. He's always reading books. He's always like trying to learn something new, and he's always open-minded. So I think it's like the coachable side of him that I admire, like how coachable he is, and 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 how good he is at his job, like how good he is at doing what he does, what we do for a living. Like this guy could close anybody. Like he could be like, he could close anybody. He could sell ice to an Eskimo. So it's like that. I admire that a lot on the business side, which is
Yeah.
great.
That's
If they need ice, I'm there.
Well, we'll make sure at the end everyone knows where to reach us so they can get their ice.
Got plenty of ice.
Right. I definitely love to chat about lead gen because on the outside looking in and catching some social media here and there when it pops up in my news feed, I feel like you guys just have it nailed down.
Yeah. So lead gen, we've been coached for almost all of our career, and it always came down to lead generation, and is a big part of our business. And I always say the blessing and the curse for entrepreneurs, especially in our business, is that we could wake up anytime and then just show up at the office at any point, right? Some the people that are hoping and praying that their phone's going to ring, that those are the people that are going to be struggling, and they might be struggling now because it's tight inventory, right? Um, we regardless just show up every single day. We kind of created this schedule for us that we treat it like a business. There at 9, and we're out at a certain point, right? And a big part of that is lead generation. We always say this is a contact sport. You have to be reaching out to people and asking them for the business. We have a saying, as soon as even one of our eXp family members, he said it today, and it's something that we always say: somebody needs our help out there. We just need to find them, right? So either by phone call, text message, you said it, social media, email, mail, door knocking. These are all lead generation techniques. But the strategy is pretty simple. It's like we have to go out there and find somebody that needs our help, or they have to recommend somebody that needs our help. Right. And you have to have kind of a workflow through that. But maybe you want to jump in there and
Yeah, I mean, I think if we and this applies to any agent, like a brand new agent and a seasoned agent. I think if you have to divide up like how your time is invested in real estate and your like daily activities, I think lead generation should be like, I don't know, 60% of what you do when it comes to real estate. Because a lot of people get caught up, like they get something under agreement, they start working on the deal, but that deal already went under agreement. Like there is no more money coming out of that deal, right?
Right.
So it's like people get caught up in that and they forget that, okay, where is the next one coming from? So what Will and I have really mastered, because it has taken us time, like 7 years that we've been doing together real estate. You know, in the beginning, we used to be the ones working on the deal. So we've been able to leverage a lot of the steps that come after you get something under agreement or before, so we could really focus on lead generation. So our time is invested in just having conversations with potential buyers and sellers, and mostly sellers, right? So um, I think for anybody looking to get into real estate or who is in real estate and is struggling a little bit, like just increase the time you're talking on the phone with somebody, like increase the amount of people, like increase your activities with talking to potential buyers and sellers, and that would definitely help you grow your business more. Like I know for a fact, like we know that when something, like when the business is starting to be like a little slow, like Will and I are like, okay, ready, like it's almost like we know we have to put our head down. Like we came back from vacation last week, we were away, like, and we said to each other, I know we're going to be busy this week, but lead generation is our number one priority. Like who cares about everything else? Let's just really focus on making those calls. So
How much time do you guys spend a day on the
so
calls?
we come to the office. We usually at the office by 9, because we have to drop off kids, and you know we have to do that before we show up. And then from 9 to 11:15, we're both on the phones making calls. Then at 11:30, we have a role play group, like state in the states, in the United States, people from like different cities. Uh, we jump on that from 11:30 to 12. We eat lunch at 12 o'clock at the office. And then from 1 to like 3 p.m., we're back on like either follow ups, like just, you know, people that are like warm in your database, in your pipeline, just following up with those already warm leads. So if you say, like, I would say like 3.5, 4 hours out of the day, it's dedicated to lead generation.
Wow, that's incredible. And as you know, I wrote a book specifically for new and struggling real estate agents. How would you advise that new or struggling agent to know where are they going to get these contacts from to call? Like, what ideas, like, I know I talk to new agents, and one of the first things I really strongly advise them to do is get involved in their community, just getting out there. And we're in a relationship business, so people to know, like, and trust you, they need to meet you and be involved in something with you. So that's just sort of an easy, well, it's not easy for everyone, I guess I shouldn't say that, but it's definitely one option of getting out there and getting involved and connected with others.
We always like to tell every agent to start with their sphere of influence, their friends and family, and build a foundation around that. Now, sometimes maybe you don't have that because you just moved from a different state or a different country, and it's just not something that you have, right? Then in that case, yeah, joining communities, like you were saying, getting involved with different organizations, cold calling. I always say if you want to make the transition over from being a buyer's agent, and if you want to be a list agent, aside from the friends and family, for sale by owners, expired listings, although those require higher skill, I always recommend the free, less expensive route is to door knock. Choose a neighborhood that you really want to be active in, and start knocking the doors. You'll get more familiar with the neighborhood, and then your confidence is going to be so high. At first, it's going to be kind of tough, but after a while, you get the hang of it. If you could door knock, you could do anything.
What would you say when you knock on that door?
That's a great question. So we got scripts, but
True.
Real simple. We don't even carry business cards, Veronica and I. And there's a strategy behind why we don't do that either. But it's very simple. It's either you sold something or somebody in the company sold something recently in that community, or if you just want to give them a market update. Hey, there's only 6 properties for sale in this area, or in all of whatever, Linfield.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going around just wondering by chance if you happen to know anybody that's looking to move. And they say no. They usually say no. Well, what about you? Any plans on selling or downsizing or whatever it may be? And they say yeah, or they say no. Well, what about in the future? Very casual conversations. Well, if you did make a move, what's the next logical question you would ask somebody? Well, if you were to make a move, where would you go next? How soon would you want to be there? Right? These are the scripts. Right? This is Mike Ferry.
True.
Right. You want to jump in there, baby, and say anything else?
I think the SOI for us, the sphere of influence, is probably the biggest one. I'm one that, I try to take advantage of like every relationship I have throughout the day. Like as soon as I step, because I leave the office around 3:30 to pick up my daughter, and then I spend my afternoon with my daughter. So I'm like, okay, I take her to parks, or like I would take her places, and I always try to make a point of talking to somebody there about real estate, because everybody has something to do with real estate. Either they're renting, they're buying, they're selling, whatever. So I always try to make a few contacts, and we've actually closed transactions from like my daughter's favorite place to go to spend the afternoon. Like we closed a couple deals from it, and really good deals, like off market. So like yesterday I had a smoke inspection at a property that we're closing next week, and the fireman called me, and I said to him, he's like, oh, he asked me like how much I sold the property for. And then I knew that was my end. As soon as he asked me how much I sold it for, I'm like, he's interested in buying. And then we started talking. Next thing I know, I have his email, his home address, his personal phone number, everything from him within that conversation that we just had, because he was looking for a property and he liked this one. So I'm like, I'll find you one just like that one. Don't worry. So I'm like,
That's great.
it's always like, it's so simple, Julie, but some people complicate it. Like I feel some people think like, oh, I have to call expires, I have to call for survivors, I have to call this, I have to make a list. And I'm like, real estate and opportunities are everywhere. everywhere you are, where you go and buy your sub, where you go and do your nails, where you don't go and do your hair. Everybody has a house that they want to buy or they want to sell or they're renting and they want to get out of it. So I always
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
say,
Julie,
everywhere we go, I'm like, do you want to either buy? Who do you know that wants to buy your house? Right? And William is always like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot we should ask that question everywhere. And we always get numbers because people then, to his point about the business cards, people would say like, yeah, why don't you give me a business card? And I say, well, yeah, why don't I send you my digital business card? So what I do is I put them in my number. I ask for their number. So they're in my phone book. And then
Mm-hmm.
we send them a business, digital business card. So now they are in my database as an SOI and they see all my information. They get a link from my social media, my YouTube, like everything that we have, they get it right in their phone. So it's like easy. There is no, I'm not killing trees and then I'm getting all the information and then I get rid of my business card. So kind of like two stones.
Yeah. And add them to your follow-up list
Correct.
immediately.
Yes.
so a strategy behind like why Veronica and I, we'll just share some quick strategies on why we don't carry business cards. Is usually if you hand out those business cards, if we get business cards, let's say, we usually just chuck them,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't remember the last time I actually got a business card and then needed the service maybe months later and went to go look for that business card. We're in a digital era. So I'd lose it, or I know that I'll just chuck it. So this is the reason why, that strategy she just shared is so effective, that we say, hey, let's say that somebody said, yeah, I am thinking about selling. Great. I'm going to send you my contact info. Great. And then we exchange contact information. Now we have their number. Now we can put the notes and we can put it to our CRM.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's,
The
oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
it's such a simple interaction. Like when we're door knocking, like the person comes out of the door and say, we start to convert, and then Will would say something like, yeah, why don't I send you my business card? What's your number? 617. Like he starts with the area code or wherever we are, and then they just like they just say it, like it just comes out of their mouth, like there is no resistance. It's like the craziest thing is like you would think they're like, no, why don't you? No, they're like, 8422088, like, and then next thing you know, you got everything. And then he's like, what about your email? And then we joke around, how about your social security? And then they laugh, you break the ice. And then it's like, next thing you're like, just having a friendly conversation with this person who could be a seller in the future, right? So,
Right? Yeah.
So sometimes people get, like Veronica said it, sometimes people complicate it. Or sometimes, and I was guilty of this when I first got licensed, I wanted everything to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed the perfect script. I needed the perfect time to door knock. I needed the perfect, you name it. And it was never going to be perfect, right? I finally realized never going to be perfect. Just doing it is going to get you better. But let's say, it's like, because people, they get stuck on this. Like, what do I say to a random person?
Mm-hmm.
Like I bump into them at, like, for instance, Veronica, we opened up a Costco card, right? And you, the easiest way to break ice with somebody and then start talking about real estate is blame it on a real estate coach or a mentor or somebody. Just saying like, hey, my real estate coach mentioned that everybody I bump into, I have to ask them if they happen to know anybody that needs my help selling, buying, or investing in real estate. Now that person realizes, okay, that this person is getting coached, right? And this person's in real estate, and now they have to answer a question that you asked them. Well, and then that kind of opens up the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easier way just to ask
For sure.
about real estate.
For sure. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. New agents typically feel a little overwhelmed with the thinking that they're bothering someone, or, I can't tell you how many times I have heard people say, well, I don't want to reach out and bother people that I know. Right? So what would you respond?
What would you say, baby?
well, I understand. I probably felt like that in the beginning too. Um, but I think if you're in sales period, I think it's an easier route to talk to the people they actually know you and trust you. And I always say, like, you're not asking them for business, like you just asking them, who do they know? Like you're not asking them, do you want to sell your house? Like you just, hey, I just got licensed and I'm in real estate and I'm just wondering, who do you know that wants to either buy or sell a home? Very simple, because I feel like if you just, like Will say, if you want to have the perfect script, if you want it to sound like you, and then you get caught up in the paralysis analysis, right? So, but if you just kind of do it in a very friendly way, I think it only gets better. I feel if you overcome that fear, it could only get better, because I could guarantee, like we call expires for sale by owners, call calls, absentee owners, all of that, and 80% of our business comes from our sphere of influence, because it's just the easiest route and the easiest way to get clients. I feel like those people you already have an advantage over those people. The reason sometimes we lose listings is because they know somebody within their sphere of influence that does real estate and they feel more comfortable, even if they know you're better
True.
as a real estate agent. This just happened to me 2 weeks ago. I met with this guy. We spoke the same language in terms of like numbers and everything. Like he was super analytical. I was analytical with him. I'm not analytical, but I brought all the numbers so we could speak the same language. And then at the end of then 2-3 times, I kept following up, and I'm like, I told Will, we got this, we got this. The guy keeps saying how great like how much information we provided. The reason why I lost the listing was because he had somebody who was related to his wife, who they trust and they feel more comfortable. And I'm like, I get it. So why not go to those people knowing that you have an advantage, right? Like looking at it from that perspective. Like,
That thought of bothering somebody is normal. That's a normal thought, right? I'm reading
Mhm.
Success Principles by Jack Canfield, and he talks about some sort of study that says 90% of the thoughts that we have, and I forgot how many thoughts we have a day, but 90% of them are negative, right? So that just that negative thought is actually normal. But if you really think about it, like let's put ourselves in their shoes, right? If one of my friends called me and they said, "Hey, I'm selling marble and granite." Cool. I don't need help, but when I do, I will. In fact, we're actually buying a house now, and somebody that we know is in our circle. We reached out to him. We want him to do the service. Of course, we're the cheerleaders, right? That's the reason why. So if you're thinking that, just know it's normal. Just do it anyways.
Mhm.
Because Mike Ferry talks about, like, I'd rather bother somebody than not bother him, and then all of a sudden see that listing pop up, like Veronica said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It actually happened to me today, where not that I thought I was bothering, because I love following up, but I just didn't follow up enough. Like I went on vacation, came back, and I waited until today's Wednesday. I should have called on Monday, but it just popped up on Wednesday. Anyhow, long story short, the listing is with somebody else already. I just lost an opportunity, $900,000 house,
Mm.
because I didn't bother them enough. Right.
Mm.
I'd rather that.
Yeah. 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 I remember one of the coaches telling me, because this is what I did in the beginning. So I would get a lead and I would reach out. And if I didn't hear back from them, I put everything on paper back then. I crumpled it up and threw it away, because to me, they're not interested, right? So I don't want to bother them and make a nuisance of myself. So the coach said to me, "No, you reach out and keep reaching out until they tell you to stop." Because the thing is, we're over here with a preconceived idea of what's going on, and we're making it personal and negative, and it could be so far from the truth.
Right.
They could have a family situation going on. They could have got busier with their job. They could be on a vacation. The list goes on and on and on. And none of it has to do with me and that I was bothering them when they don't want to talk to me. Right. So I try to, I have these conversations with members on my team. Just keep reaching out. Just keep reaching out till someone tells you to go away. And then depending on how they tell you, you might still continue, but sort of just depends.
What somebody that Veronica followed up forever with is now one of our really good friends, and he keeps on telling that story to everybody, and every time we see him, this girl would not leave me alone. But she sold the house when that person signed with somebody first, and then they expired. Veronica kept in touch, and now is one of our really good friends.
And
Love that.
and it's funny because, like, again, like what Will was saying, the negative thoughts, but if you continue following up, what ends up happening is they actually, you actually earn their respect, because they see how aggressive or how consistent or how persistent you are, that then
Mm-hmm.
they tend to feel like, okay, this person is really, serious about their job, and they keep following up. So it actually makes it easier. Like with this guy, this example that Will gave, like I literally called this guy for a whole year. He worked at the court or something with juvenile, and I would call him when he was at the beach, at the court, at home, at the church, at every single day I'll call him, and he will hang up on me. It was an expire. I didn't know him. He was just an expire lead, but he would talk to me for 2 minutes and then he'll hang up. And I'm like, that's fine. And then I'll call him again, and then he'll be like, "Girl, you are like unstoppable. Like, fine, come see us." And, and I was so green at that point. It was like one of my first listing appointments from an expire. So I dragged Will with me to that appointment, and the guy just would not stop talking to, like, how this all came to, like, came to us sitting on this table with his wife and me with Will. So it was great. So if something, it's gonna get you more, like a better reputation.
Right.
And there's a strategy in what she just said too. They would talk for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever, but she was getting bits and pieces of information, building up a story.
Mhm.
So eventually it came to a point that she had everything that she needed. Like they were going to sell to move to a bigger house. They were in a townhouse. They were doing it for X, Y, and Z, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you start building a whole story within these. It's a game of inches,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So it was a very fun appointment. Everybody was
So
laughing
when
there.
I call him, I'll be like, "Hey, Jose, I know you're trying to move because you want to move into a bigger home to live. I understand that." So he'll be like, "What?" Like he'll forget that he spoke to me, and then he'll be like, "How do you know all of this?" I'm like, "It's okay. I know what you're looking for, and I know I can help you." He was saying, and I was just reading my notes, because every time I talked to him, I
Right.
took 2 paragraphs of notes from, like, the conversation. So yeah, building the puzzle. Because we all
Yeah.
know, like, you don't get the appointment from, like, the first contact, right? Like that's what a lot of people
Right.
do. They call expires, and then they might say, "Yeah, I might sell in the summer," and then they don't call them again. And then, and then if you keep following up, the summer is gonna happen sooner than later, and you're the only one that kept following up with that person. So
Yeah, that's a really good point.
right.
So we heard somewhere that if somebody says call me in like 6 months, you call them in
3.
like 3.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just making sure that we're still on this time frame of 6 months. But at that point, you're already talking to them in 3 and saying, you know what, does it make sense to meet now versus waiting until we don't know what's going to happen later,
Mm-hmm.
or their motivation might have changed or a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always good to just chop it in half and then just give them some value during those conversations.
Yeah. I love that. I think that is really, really great advice. We are just getting ready to start calling expireds and FISBOs. Believe it or not, hasn't happened yet for anyone on my team, but this is something new we're going to be doing this year.
We have some agents that finally committed to making the calls this year. And it's a great moment when they start booking the appointments and then going under agreement. It's a beautiful thing to watch, right? We
Yeah.
celebrate it
Yeah.
because it takes a lot. I know that you have to get out of your head first, right? And then you have to
Mm-hmm.
build your skills. You have to commit to learning what to say. And then it's funny because everybody goes through the same path. Once you internalize the script, then the words that's naturally come out, that's supposed to come out in order for you to go through and book the appointment and then get the opportunity, right? So it's fun to watch and experience it through somebody else now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I bet. And what a great idea to celebrate it, because it is a huge accomplishment. So many people never get past that initial hurdle of picking up the phone because they just have so many sort of negative thoughts in their head about what's going to happen, or it's all perceived idea of what's going to go down, and it's, you're going to get hung up on is that really going to end your world for the day? Like, it's okay. And you might, like, you
Yeah.
guys, you meet great people. Look at some of your stories. So anything can happen.
Every no is going to lead you to a yes. And the activity of prospecting, you're going to hit some wrong numbers and you're going to delete them. Eventually, you're going to get down to a list, and some people you're not going to want to work with, right? So you're going to delete those people. Eventually, you get down to a list that you're talking to the homeowners, and it's just a matter of time until their gates are open to say, yes, I'm going to meet with you. But we always, like today, Veronica was saying, we have a role play every single day, Monday to Thursday. We know what to say, but we're still there to sharpen our axe every single day. So if you're not role playing, you're actually role playing on the real thing, which is kind of dangerous, right? So it's better to role play and work through those uncomfortable moments, or what you don't know what to say during those role play sessions versus the real thing, because it's costly to do that.
Yeah, that's sound advice right there. And it's, if you don't have a role play partner, for listeners, just reach out to someone in your brokerage, because they will definitely be able to connect you. We will have Will and Vero's information, and you can probably always jump in and pick their brain and get involved. They have a lot of people, a lot of different groups going on, so that would definitely be beneficial.
And this role play that Will mentioned, it's a role play open to everybody. It's not just like our company. It's actually we got connected from our admin. Her brother is a coach, a real estate coach in California, and he runs this role play mastermind. So you have a monthly fee, which I feel like, because we also have one that is free at $7.45. But I think when people have skin in the game, they show up more, because we pay for this too, because I feel for us it's very beneficial to stay relevant and understand what other people are going through. Because when you're role playing, also you're able to see what other objections the other person is having across the United States. In California, we know when things happen in California, they're coming this way, right? Like if they're having certain objections there, they're coming, it's going to happen here eventually, right? So it's very valuable, those 30 minutes every day. And so I think if anybody, when you put the link, if anybody wanted to join that role play, reach out to us, and we're happy to connect you up with the person who handles this, so they could get they could come and visit for a week for free, and then they could see if they want to sign up for it.
I love that. I really appreciate that. When you guys send over your headshots, go ahead and include that link, and then when Aspen gets everything up on social media, we'll make sure that is up there for all of our listeners.
Awesome.
Appreciate that. Well, I thank you both for sharing your knowledge and your time with us today. Can you please share your contact deets for our listeners so they can reach out to you and find you on social?
Yes. My name is Veronica Lujan. I go by Vero Lujan on social media. And my cell phone is 617-842-2088.
Will Vecurano, 781-420-5391.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. Don't be shy about reaching out and sharing your info. Find us on all the socials at Real AF Program. Until next time, keep it Real AF. Make sure you subscribe to our Spotify channel so you get updated every time we drop a new podcast. And check out our website at realafprogram.com.